Hey YouTube, if you've been watching my videos for the past week, I've been really focused on stat product because what I've been noticing is that there are certain Pokemon that I use that if they have like a higher stamina and nice balance of like not even defense, like a nice balance between attack, okay on defense, and then good stamina, it seems to be one of the stronger Pokemon. Almost doesn't even matter the moveset. Obviously, moveset is important in this. So I was just wondering, like, can I just look at stat product to figure out which Pokemon are ones that I should be watching going forward? And the answer is sort of. So if you go to, you can't see it on the screen, but if you go to overall here and click on the thing, there's a drop down menu. In the drop down menu, there's stats. Like there's overall, leads, closer, switches, stuff like that. But there's also stats. So stat product, attack, defense, and stamina. So if you go to the overall stat product, you get, this is where you kind of need to use your judgment to a certain extent with just the overall stat product. So stat product is a combination of the it's a somewhat complicated formula between the attack, defense, and stamina. But basically, some multiplier effect will give you the stat product. So Chansey, like we know that Chansey, obviously with the stat products, just because its defense and stamina is so high, we know that Chansey has the potential in limited cups, is pretty dominant, right? And it has the potential, if it gets a better move than Zen Headbutt, it's going to be one of the best ones. Bastiodon, Umbreon, Mandibuzz, Toxapex, Cresselia, Azumarill, Registeel, Diggersby, Jumpluff. Propass has some like meh. Alomomola in the limited cup. Spiderbug was dominant until the Owl to beat that. Lickitung, Steelix, Homeslash Henry Ladian, Galarian Stunfisk, normal Stunfisk, right? So there's a lot. If you just look at here, there's something that you have to take a grain of salt. Like obviously Lugia isn't going to be that amazing in Great League, but there's a lot on here that if you look just at the stat product, you're like, yeah, like Munchlax, Altaria, there's a lot that actually have a good play here. So then it's like, okay, what other stat products can you use? So the first one that I looked at is attack, and this is why you need to look at this attack a little bit, but not a ton. So a lot of these attack are just what you use this attack for is if you want a good Pokemon for like raiding, quite honestly. It's just like high attack stat, and we know like Kartana is one of the best grass type Pokemon for raiding. Sharpedo, if you've ever seen it, is the ultimate glass cannon, the waterfall chunks, but it can't take any move. So you go on this list, and there's not a lot here that you would use in GBL, right? There's Gengar, right, which is, again, a glass cannon. But you move down this list, it's like there's nothing you would really use. Honchkrow, people use sometimes in like, I mean, this is in Great League, but they sometimes use it in Ultra League as like a kind of like a sneak glass cannon. But overall, like you're not using any of these Pokemon in battles here, right? And that's why people always talk about like, and it doesn't matter, you want higher defense because attack account first. There's two things here. So attack accounts for higher CP, because I think the formula is like 2 times the attack and it's only like maybe 1.5 or 1 times the defense and stamina. So your attack startup product is higher. The higher attack startup product, the higher the CP, right? So that's why you're generally looking for a lower. That's the IVs that you're generally looking for a lower one. But no, it's times the stat product as well. So it's the stat product times the IV. So that's why it's generally lower. Surfetch I like to use. Generally, you're not using it. Then I went to defense. And when I was looking at defense versus stamina, every single time in just eyeballing it, whatever had a way better stamina was better to use. And you go here, there are some Pokemon like Bastion, Toxapex, Defense Deoxys, high defense, but I've also got to imagine they probably have high stamina too, right? And when you go down this list, like there's Registeels and stuff like that, so you can't just fully discount this list. But then there's a lot of just like sort of like some not random stuff, because like Tapu Fini. So the Tapu Fini was the one that got me yesterday, and let me just bring this up right here. I was just playing with some names here, but let's go to Tapu, because this is what really bothered me yesterday. So Tapu does have a high defense 157, but only has the 111 stamina. So when you go look at something like Metachamp, again, it's not a fair comparison because of like level 50 versus level 20, but the overall stat product is much better with Metachamp, and a lot of that has to do with like you lose attack compared to these. You lose attack, you lose defense, but you are 31 points better in stamina. And I just have found that stamina seems to play better with a lot of these Pokemon. So the defense here, I'm not like, there's some here, but I've got to imagine they're also pretty decent stamina. So you look at this list and you're like, well, no, these Pokemon suck. Wailmer, Wailord, they're terrible Pokemon. And yes, but then it's sort of like you got to also consider like the moveset and stuff like that, right? So like there's your Lantern, there's your Azumarill. A lot of these are also like baby Pokemon, Slowpoke, Vampy. You got to like just kind of take that in consideration. Drifloon, not even Drifblim, right? So it's these either evolved Pokemon or Pokemon that have decent movesets. Lickitung, Dunsparce, Whiscash, Greedent, Diggersby, Grimer, right? All those who have a pretty strong play. So what I would do if I can, you can probably go down to like 140 here, is what I want to do one day is just go through all these Pokemon and think like, okay, just looking at stamina, looking at defense and attack, and just kind of go through and figuring out based on these stat products where I may be able to find good Pokemon to use. Sorry, let's not close that. Because if you just look at the meta Pokemon, I'm just going to go back and forth so you see this. What I just kind of found that like they generally have a higher stamina and a 2000 plus overall rating. So there's Metachamp there. Here comes your Owl, 2159 with a higher stamina, 171, right? Lower attack, decent defense, higher stamina. We go to Lantern, same sort of thing. Lower attack, terrible defense, brilliant stamina, right? What else is meta here? Registeel. We know Registeel has that super high defense, right? And again, stamina is pretty low here, but 132 is like way better than like the Tapu Fini, which I noticed was like insanely poor, right? So it's just like the combination of the huge defense and like okay stamina. What about Sableye? Sableye is an interesting one because it is pretty glassy. And that's kind of, and there's going to be a couple exceptions to this rule because this is still 1900, which is not the 2000 sort of threshold. But this is where your moveset comes into play, right? Shadow Claw, Foul Play, the Dark and Ghost typing. Like this is where you can't just look at these statistics alone. But for me, I think moving forward, these are probably some statistics that I'm going to look at. And then Trevenant again. So Shadow Claw again. Trevenant itself, not great. 133 stamina is not terrible, but the 125 you're probably getting. It just again. It is if you use Trevenant, it is somewhat glassy. That's not surprising given the 105 defense, 133 stamina. But it again 126 attack. It hits pretty hard. I'm trying to think of what else is in the meta. So I want to actually I haven't done this, so this may. I want to see two things here. I want to see the two Pokemon that I've used in the past to dominate Great League and their stats. So this is why I've kind of always loved Ninetales. And so for those of you who are either new to this channel or haven't been in the past 2 seasons now, because Ninetales has unfortunately gone away. I used Ninetales before the meta switch. So the meta switched to Registeel, Walrein, Trevenant. And I was using it before. I was using Ninetales before that change even happened. And when that change happened, it was like way better. And here we are looking at this. You have just that beautiful balance of like okay attack, okay defense, okay stamina, almost 2000 stat product. And it's just like, yes, with a Fire Spin Weather Ball combo is pretty good. And that's kind of like not surprising to me that this Pokemon is hovering around the stats and the overall stat product that I would like with a decent moveset. That's why I made it so sort of valuable to me. Togedemaru is an interesting one because I think Togedemaru is definitely sort of like one of the attack Pokemon. It seems to have on par with like Trevenant, right? Where your attack stack products is so high, but your defense stamina is quite low. Like Togedemaru is a glass cannon. And I talked about how typings. I asked the question like, do typings affect this game? And some people in the comments below mentioned that like in the OG games, typings did make a difference, right? Electric was your fast, right? Most of your electric Pokemon also had fast like speed stats to go with it. So I was just thinking like I always use Jolteon in the Pokemon Red because it always threw first, right? And it seems like, and that's why kind of electric is hurting here because they tend to be attack heavy and speed heavy, but speed heavy is not used in this game, right? So that's why I think like electric and poison is another one, right? We talked about Nidoqueen to a certain extent. So again, Nidoqueen overall stat product, not okay attack, okay, like overall just kind of like well-rounded 2000. And I'm trying to think what other just pure poisons. Someone mentioned that like poison is more of just like an attack Pokemon as opposed to like a defense Pokemon in the game, right? Whereas someone mentioned like Steel, Registeel, Steelix, 187 defense on Steelix, Galarian Stunfisk, 177 stamina, said that like Steel were in the game was your defensive Pokemon, right? And that's where you're starting to see like these good stamina hairs. Now, if you think about that from that perspective, it's like, okay, if these stats seem to reward a decent balance, but seems to be skewed towards stamina, and you have certain typings like Steel, and I have to do more research, but like maybe other typings that favor defensive stats, and these things have decent movesets, no wonder you're seeing Registeel, Galarian Stunfisk, Steelix plus in the top, right? So that's just what I started thinking. So I was like, okay, so eventually what I want to do is just kind of like go through these rankings overall and just like start throwing in Pokemon in like this range 60 plus to see if there are like an interesting stat product that if they got like a better move set, perhaps they would be better to use. And Hypno, let me just look up Hypno, because Hypno was everywhere in seasons 1 through 5. And then the problem was everyone got Sableye, everyone got Trevenant, and it went away. But look at that stat product, right? It's what you want to see: low attack, decent defense, strong stamina, huge overall stat product. And I think it just died because of the moveset. And again, I think if you just kind of like find these Pokemon, just throw in some like random ones here, that if they have like a better moveset, perhaps that they would be stronger. Sneasler is an interesting one. Sneasler? Which one's Sneasler? The baby or the 1500, right? So this is your epitome glass cannon. Super high attack. Yeah, you just use that as a glass cannon. But like Stunfisk, let's just talk about the other Stunfisk, because I know a lot of people say Galarian Stunfisk, but a lot of people also like the other Stunfisk for its, and again, like there's your lower attack, decent defense, higher stamina, overall good stat product. That is a pretty strong Pokemon in general, right? So it's just something that, again, I haven't done a ton. I'm sure I don't know. I know that like Swag does deep dives on these stat products for like optimal IVs, but I've got to imagine that again, this is just top of my head. I'm just kind of making this video just because it like came to me. I've got to imagine that there are Pokemon here that will probably be strong based on their stat products if they just get a bump in the moveset. And that's my guess. And we will see. We will see. What's Drapion's stats? Because Drapion is so glassy in the Great League. I have a shadow version. Again, 120 stamina. I feel that. I feel you can, and I have a shadow version. Does the shadow change? No, it doesn't change. It just affects the how much damage you take, right? So if you have 119 stamina, which is on the lower end, and your shadow, of course, you get that extra damage. So you feel that. So yeah. Anyways, that's just kind of like stream of consciousness in my mind. So there's so there's like 2 or 3 things coming from this that let me know in your comments below. 2 or 3 things that I've noticed. Again, one, I think stamina is the most important stat product out of these 3, in my opinion. Having just seen like Lantern at 199 and the Owl at 171, just seeing these bulky Pokemon that even though they have low attack stats can still sort of dominate shows me that I gotta start looking for strong stamina Pokemon that have like decent movesets, and I'll probably find a diamond in the rough again. Like Ninetales, like I said, Ninetales. The fact that Ninetales, do they have the same stats? I assume so. Yeah, sort of. Like 128 is not very high, but all that close to like to that 2000. Like you either need to find like a balanced one like this, or like a strong stamina with a good moveset. And I think you'll find a diamond in the rough there. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Second thing, again, that comes to mind is like, I have to go back and do sort of like the history lesson of typings in Pokemon Go. Like which ones were more defensive typings? Which ones were more attack focused? Which ones are more speed focused? Because I bet you if you look at the original typings and go through the Pokemon in this game and their typings, I bet you there is sort of a similar correlation of their strengths of the strength of the typings in the initial game versus the strength here. Like they said, if electric was based on speed, like Lance's an interesting case because it's also half water, but like if electric is based on speed and you don't get that stat product, it probably isn't as strong in this. If something was more attack heavy, which this game doesn't seem to focus on attack heavy Pokemon too much, you're probably not doing it as well. But those who are focused on like special defense or defense, those typings, I bet you that they probably do better in this game. So just for food for thought. So I will eventually one day go through all these different, one day if I have time, I want to go through like 200 Pokemon and like pull out 10 to 15 that says like this stat product, I like this stat product. And I bet you based on typing, based on the stat product, I bet you if they get like a decent moveset, they will become instant meta. Like I want to do that one day. But anyways, that is my thoughts on that. This is going up either Wednesday or Thursday. I assume Thursday because what I think is going to happen is I assume that the next season will come out on Tuesday afternoon, and I will make a video Tuesday night in my hotel room in Toronto to post Wednesday morning for that, and then I will post this one on Thursday, and then the league turns over Thursday at 4, and I get home off the train as long as there's no delays at like 9, so I'll shoot a video at like, I don't care, 11, 12 o'clock at night to have something to go up on Friday. But that is it. Let me know in the comments below if you've noticed anything like that, or if you truly just think like it just depends on, I don't think it actually just depends on, I'm saying there are certain Pokemon that I just talked about, like Sableye and Trevenant, that moveset and typings do just sort of overpower these stat products. But I again, just based on having played these Pokemon and looking at their stat products, it's not a coincidence that some of these Pokemon are stronger than the others, right? So anyways, that is it. I appreciate watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I will see you guys in the next one.